Super Bowl 59 is over, and it probably didn't go down the way that a lot of people expected. Many people thought this would be a close game. It was not. The Eagles gave a beatdown to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they capture their Super Bowl title here in Super Bowl 59. So joining me to break it all down is a woman who helped me preview the big game the other day. Her name is Rita Hubbard. You can catch her on 105.7 in Baltimore, and also co-host of the Gridiron Gals podcast. Rita, what's going on? How you doing?
It's a great Super Bowl Sunday, friend. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, hey, it is great if you're an Eagles fan. It could also be great if you are a Chiefs hater, right? It's great for you if you are a Chiefs fan. No, it's not a great day for you at all whatsoever.
Great day for a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, it's a tough day for the Chiefs fan. So, Rita, the other day when we previewed the big game, you told me you thought this was going to be a close game. And honestly, this game was never really competitive. Were you shocked by this beatdown? And why were the Eagles able to be so dominant in this one?
So, yes and no. I feel like I'm shocked by the beatdown because the Chiefs are so good at what they do. But then when you think about it, and when they played the Tampa Bay Bucks a couple of years ago in their other loss, you realize that, sometimes, the other team just is better. And I think that we have to come to the conclusion that the Philadelphia Eagles is a better team all around. They have Saquon Barkley. They have A.J. Brown. They have Devontae Smith. They have one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. And they have Goddard as their tight end. And I think that when you look at it that way, particularly, and then you start looking at the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Carter and the guys that they have, I think in hindsight, you thought it was going to be close because Patrick Mahomes obviously is one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen. But then you don't take into account of how talented this Philadelphia Eagles team is overall, both on offense and defense. And I've always thought that they lacked talent on the Kansas City Chiefs side offensively. And I thought that that would be a problem. And today is the day that it came to be a problem for them because when you eliminate Travis Kelce, and that's a conversation that we had, Dexter.
Mm-hmm.
When you eliminate him, it becomes a problem because the other guys aren't as good as Travis Kelce, and they can't do what Kelce does. And when that became the focal point of trying to get everybody else involved, that's when Kansas City got in trouble.
Yeah, and they got in trouble, and we've also seen them sort of play with fire, right, a lot this year, getting
Yes.
behind in games. They weren't able to overcome that in this one. But I want to talk about the quarterbacks because you mentioned Patrick Mahomes, but let's first talk about Jalen Hurts. In your opinion, what does this win mean for the Eagles quarterback who he's heard questions about whether or not he was the QB to lead Philly to the promised land? Now he's done that. He's got a Super Bowl MVP. So does this change how maybe you or others view Hurts? And what do you think his standing is as a signal caller in the NFL right now?
Yeah, so for me, I think that Jalen Hurts is a guy that, look, he's been to a Super Bowl prior to today. And I think that we have to take account for that. I don't think it's fair for us to just act like, Jalen Hurts is the guy that's along for the ride. He's part of the process, the tush push, him, running for first downs. That is a part of what their offense is, and Jalen Hurts is a part of that. And I think that while we don't consider him as talented as other guys like a Mahomes or an Allen or a Lamar Jackson, he is talented enough to take a team to a Super Bowl. We saw him do it a couple of years ago, and while they were unsuccessful, bringing in Saquon Barkley probably took a lot of pressure off of him. I think he was always good enough to win a Super Bowl. And today, I think, is a prime example of Jalen Hurts being able to take you to a championship game and win a championship game. And shout out to him because I'm sure that he's heard a lot of talk about what he can and can't do. And I think that he played a really good game against the Chiefs, really good defense in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, fantastic game. 2 passing touchdowns, did have 1 interception, also ran for another score. So Jalen Hurts was big in this contest as the Super Bowl MVP for Super Bowl 59. Now for the Chiefs, they don't make history. They don't win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, he did not look like Patrick Mahomes, right? He did not look like Patrick Mahomes at all, but he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, like you said. What does Andy Reid and company need to do in order to get back to the top of the NFL?
I think they have to have just more continuity with their wide receivers, and you have to figure out what are you going to do with Travis Kelce from here. I love Travis Kelce, and we talked about this prior about Travis Kelce can have an 11 target, 11 catch day, and he didn't have either of those things. I think he had 6 targets, 4 catches, I think under 40 yards. That is how you beat the Chiefs. But I think that a big part of that is Travis Kelce is an older player who is potentially in a situation where he might think about retirement from here. So you have to think about how do you bolster your skill players moving forward. Now you have an Xavier Worthy who you can create a rapport with. But Hollywood Brown is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is a 1-year player. I'm not really sure what the situation goes with DeAndre Hopkins, but I'd have to guess he's probably not there long, as well as Juju Smith-Schuster. So you have to figure out from a skill set position, how do you create continuity for Patrick Mahomes moving forward? And I think that that's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, it seems like they really need to upgrade the skill positions, particularly at receiver. Offense just hasn't been the same since Tyreek Hill left. We know how talented
Absolutely.
he is. So we'll see what they do there. Last thing for me, Rita, with the Eagles winning, what do you think the staying power is for this team at the top of the league? And would they be your favorite to go back-to-back and win the Super Bowl next year in Super Bowl 60?
See, to me, the NFC is essentially wide open. And I say that because they don't have the quarterback depth that the AFC has. And that could change, right? We don't know what the draft says. We don't know how the Giants are going to pick. And we don't know how other teams are going to pick in terms of quarterback. Jaden Daniels is a guy that is going to be moving up. So that could be a potential issue. And I have to assume with the salary cap space that the Commanders have, they're going to be a problem. But you have to put the Eagles as the favorite because they have Saquon Barkley, because they have A.J. Brown, and because that defense is so good. You have to make them Super Bowl favorites moving forward. And I think that the NFC, to me, has a slightly easier path than the AFC, simply because this quarterback position is not as saturated currently as the way that the AFC is. So the Eagles absolutely have an opportunity here to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl Santa Clara next year.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to do that, but they get a fantastic win in Super Bowl 59 down in the Big Easy over the Kansas City Chiefs, who weren't able to make history and win 3 straight Super Bowls. That is Rita Hubbard. It was a good day for her because she got to see the Chiefs lose. That made her very happy. The only thing that would have made her happier is seeing her Ravens knock off the Chiefs, but they weren't able to do that.
This is true.
I understand. I understand what the happiness is there. Check Rita Hubbard out on 105.7, The Fan in Baltimore, and also Gridiron Gals podcast. She does a great job hosting on there. Rita, I appreciate you joining me to preview and also recap the Super Bowl. We'll do this again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.